Let's unbox the Black Series 6-inch Stormtrooper with blast accessories. Villa Varykino. If it's Star Wars, we collect it. Hello there. Thanks for visiting Villa Varykino. As you can see, this is a slightly older Black Series that I'm going to be taking a closer look at today. This is from 2018. This is the Black Series Stormtrooper with blast accessories. We actually received this one as a gift, and because it is a deluxe figure with a lot of accessories, we kept this one boxed. It was harder to find here locally, but I've been having a lot of fun going through and finally opening up a lot of Stormtrooper figures that we've had stored away, mint in their boxes, and finally getting them out and on display. So I decided that now would be the perfect time to finally get this one out and take a closer look at all of the details. So thank you so much for hanging out with me today. Coming up very shortly, I'll get this figure out of the box. We'll take a closer look at his details and accessories and compare him to a modern version of the Black Series Stormtrooper figure and compare the two. But first, let's take one last look at the packaging here. I love this older Black Series style of packaging. I know we've had a few different versions over the years, but there is something very nostalgic about this squared off black packaging with that very striking red side panel. We've got a really nice big window here at the front. We can see the Stormtrooper figure from helmet to boots there, and the accessories packaged in beside the figure. And we've even got a little bit of a printed Death Star panel wall detail in behind the figure. Very, very nice if you want to keep yours boxed. We have Stormtrooper with blast accessories written here in red text. I really like the art here. A little bit darker than some other artworks, considering Stormtroopers are white. It's a little bit of a darker grey tone here, but very, very nice there on the corner. We've got that iconic red side panel. No number for this one. It just says Stormtrooper with blast accessories there on the side. On the back, we have a larger version of that artwork of the Stormtrooper helmet. Very nice there. And we also have an insert there of the figure. That's not very common on a Black Series packaging. Generally, we get character art and no actual photos or images of the toy itself. We can see it there posed with the display stand and blast accessories, which is a neat little preview for what's to come. So here we have a little bit of a blurb about Stormtroopers. Stormtroopers are elite shock troops fanatically loyal to the Empire and impossible to sway from the Imperial cause. They wear imposing white armor, which offers a wide range of survival equipment and temperature controls to allow the soldiers to survive in almost any environment. Stormtroopers wield blaster rifles and pistols with great skill and attack in hordes to overwhelm their enemies. So there we go. On the side, we have again the character name, Stormtrooper with blast accessories written in red text, and very faintly in the background, we can see there is a very dark grey text that says Storm. It's kind of cut off. Of course, that would say Stormtrooper if it all fit there. We've got a little bit of a side window here, just a plain black top lid, and we've got a lot of copyright text there on the underside with the barcode. I think this one was really interesting because it was so much bigger than other Black Series boxes from the era. It's about the same height, but as you can see, because we've got this much wider window, we can see both feet of the figure, whereas most of the time it's sort of cut off by the character art here on the corner. And we can see this one without its numbering compared to the standard figures that did include numbers. And the box is so much bigger because of those really chunky blast accessories packaged in there. It does look really cool in its box, but it's time to get it out and check out all of those details. So now we have the Stormtrooper and all of the accessories out of the box. We can take a closer look at the details. Of course, this is an older Black Series figure from 2018, so I can already see some of the quirks of the older sculpt that they have improved on in the modern version of this. One of the things that really stands out to me is the pegs used for the articulation on some of these joints, particularly on the elbows and around the knees. Those white pegs do really catch the eye, especially where they are on the black undersuit. It is just a little bit of a shame because I think this is such a cool figure, and it's a shame that it still uses those old sculpting details. And also because older Stormtroopers used the original Black Series Sandtrooper sculpt, we also have that peg hole in the back where the Sandtrooper backpack would have attached. So that's a little bit of a shame that that's there, but generally speaking, I display my Stormtroopers from the front, so that doesn't bother me. But those pegs for the articulation, they are a little bit of a bother there. And unfortunately, they're not hidden by any kind of weathering or blast marks. We can sort of see here, those white pegs are so very visible, especially where they cross over onto the black, which is a shame. And there's a few other things I don't particularly like. This older articulation in the neck, where you can sort of tip the head back and we can see that hinge there. I much prefer the sort of modern ball joints. We can get side to side movement from this one, but it just looks a little bit funny to me there. The helmet isn't bad. I do prefer the modern one, but we've got all the details that should be there. We've got all the details around the chin, nice lenses there. We've got that grille, we've got the blue stripes here on the side, and all of the small details here. We've got some really nice small painted details here, really nice lines here on the back of the helmet there. Got a little bit of sort of plastic residue here on the back of the shoulder bells, obviously part of the molding process. So sometimes you just get these little extra bits. Again, it's on the back, but it doesn't look very clean there, does it? I've got a nice painted thermal detonator on the back of the belt and pretty much standard stuff on the back. Got some printed text here, not too distracting, kind of hides in there next to the holster, which we're going to test out with that blaster rifle accessory there as well. On the front, obviously one of the draw cards to this one is this really interesting sort of blaster paint here. And I gotta say, it wasn't as obvious in the box, but now that I've got it in the light, we've got two very distinct different colors here. This looks like perhaps he's dropped his helmet in the mud. It's a lot more brown. And this blaster mark on the chest is a lot more of a dark gray, like something's hit him and kind of swished off his shoulder there. So it's kind of interesting. I didn't exactly see the different colors. And when I look at this really close up in person, I can just make out the tiny dots of the printing that they have used to apply this. Technically, it does just cross over the seam line here, but it does kind of, it's not quite an abrupt stop at that seam line because it just does cross over, but I kind of wish it continued on just a little bit further. I think that would sort of match up a little bit better there. It's really sort of just past that seam line there. I think this is quite fun. The way that it's kind of splashing across his chest there, like a sort of a ricocheting blaster bolt that's hit him on his armor and kind of caught across the side, like he's being shot from the side there. I like the way that that's kind of splashed again. And again, I can see the very tiny dots from the printing technique that they have used to apply this particular paint app there. I gotta say, some of the seam lines are just like a little bit rough. They have really improved on their Black Series line over the years. Everything's just like a little bit rougher when I look at some of the sort of tooling marks and things like that. You know, you can see where they have trimmed the excess plastic off. It just looks a little bit rougher. And I'm definitely keen to compare it to a modern Stormtrooper very shortly. So let's check out. So we've got that sort of classic head movement. Let's check the arms. I'm not expecting much. We've got good rotation, but the shoulder bells on these ones were much more rigid. Some of the shoulder bells of modern Black Series are more rubbery, so if you kind of want to articulate the arm up, they kind of flex if you really want to get the arms all the way up. This one is solid, so it does really just hit here. You're not going to get them in a T-pose or anything like that with their shoulders. So if I get that one back into place, he's got that sort of double jointing there in the elbow. So there is a tiny little black elbow piece in there, so you can get quite a tight pose there. The hands, we've got rotation and we've got a sort of an in and back out movement there. So we can bend his hand quite all the way in. So you can actually get a very tight, close into the body grip there. And he's got a little bit of a trigger finger. So he's only got the one accessory, so I'm not really going to test it on his left hand. Now the articulation of this one is not loose, but that's certainly a lot freer than the other side. Again, with those 2 points of articulation there, we can see the elbow joint. We can get his arm very tight in, and he also has sort of a little bit of a trigger finger and the thumb grip, so hopefully he's going to be able to hold that E11 rifle quite nicely. We've got some very tiny little painted black dots here on the ab section of the armor, and we've got a little bit that's clicking quite. I don't really feel like that one wants to do that much, but we've got some very sort of ab crunch movements there. Not really that much in the way of a side to side there. Just kind of wants to click, and I'm a little bit hesitant to go much further than that. On this particular one, we have the undersuit painted black here. Some versions of this modern Stormtrooper have sort of a white section here as well, as if there is a white panel joining the front and back of the upper chest armor there. That one has black. We've got very solid drop boxes here and quite large. They're kind of, I guess, designed to hide the join here. And we've got some sort of swivel motion here, very stiff. I can just get that one out. This one, also very stiff. And this is a little bit more, I don't get much movement here. The drop boxes are very thick. This one, we've got a much thinner attachment point here, so I can flex this around very nicely. And then we've got very tight. We can get his heel all the way up because of those joins for the knee. Does look a little bit odd to have them, but that does give you some pretty good range of movement there for some interesting poses. You can have him absolutely running down the Death Star hallway there with his legs. Very fun. And so let's see, very clicky ankles, quite loud. And he has, I want to say this is a dark gray, it's almost a green painting on the underside of his boots, and we have some large peg holes there as well. So overall, pretty much what I expected from the older version of the Imperial Stormtrooper from the Black Series line. Nothing sort of standing out to me as like, you know, absolutely horrible. It's about what I expect for this older one. I do prefer the modern one, but let's take a closer look at the comparison of this figure with a modern one. So this one here is what I think of as being the current one. This is from the angled box style Black Series from The Mandalorian. So I really do like the sculpting here. We don't have those ugly white pegs here for the elbows or the knees. Just looks a lot cleaner. The leg on my one is a little bit swingy. This one has very loose articulation. I've had this one out and I use it for comparison, so he's getting a little bit more used, shall we say, compared to some of my other figures. But we can see just the comparison between this one. I really like just the overall scale of this one, and you can see the differences here. This one's helmet is a lot bigger compared to this one, and I just like the overall sort of finish of the plastic of this one. It just looks kind of glossy, looks like armor. You can sort of see it under the lights. It just makes me think of, you know, a person wearing a Stormtrooper armor shrunk down to Black Series scale. I really like it. And the articulation just really works without all of these pegs. Like if I show them from the side, we really see the differences, the ones with the pegs and the ones without. It just cuts into the sculpting so much worse without those. And then there with the elbows as well. Of course, we get just a slightly smaller range of motion with this one, but I think I would trade that for the better sculpting. It just looks so nice and clean without those, because I am not adventurous with my posing. I generally have my characters standing up pretty straight, nice and sturdy. I don't need them doing wild poses. I'm not running around in the grass, setting off smoke bombs, doing some really cool sort of explosion shots. So I'm looking for sculpting details, and for me this one wins. But let's see how this one lines up with all of these extra accessories, because this will be really fun. Obviously the standard Black Series don't come with much beyond a simple blaster, so let's see what this one's got. So First off, we've got a two-part display stand, which I'm always kind of mixed on display stands. I know Hasbro has done this a lot over the years with their 3.75-inch line, and I've gone sort of, I've had differing opinions about them over the years. Generally nowadays, I have clear stands because I just like that uniform look, but this is kind of an interesting one. So we have a tray with a small peg on either side, and we have a little bit of a sort of attachment point here. So if you've got others, you can sort of clip them together. They'll overlay each other, and you can kind of clip them together along on display. We've just got the standard sort of copyright text there on the underside. But we've got this insert section here. It kind of has like a Death Star floor pattern here on the top. It's nice and recessed, good detail. And on the other side, we have an engraved Star Wars logo there. So you can sort of clip in which one you want. And I personally, I think this one is the cooler of the two. So I'm going to clip this one in. There is a difference. If I can get that back out, there is a difference. The pegs on this side are shorter than these ones over here. So it only sort of goes in one way, which is kind of interesting. I didn't notice that at first. So this one has peg holes, but the pegs are very, very wide. I think it's interesting that they don't have any sort of pegs on this, so you can just sort of stand him on it, I guess. And then if I was going to sort of stand him on it, you can kind of see he's going to be standing off to one side, which is a little bit different. I do like the added stability of a stand for Black Series. Some of them are a little bit of a risky sort of pose there. Just some of them are just very top heavy. And yeah, so I do kind of like stands, but I like all my stands to be uniforms, and I can't get too many more of these. So let's see how well he's going to hold his blaster. This is always a bit tricky. This one is just a tiny bit bent. I've been trying to kind of straighten these ones out. I do find some of the blaster rifles in the Black Series are a little bit prone to bending to one side, but generally speaking, they do kind of straighten out a little bit. This one is pretty much a flat black plastic. You can kind of see the bit of a bend in it there. Let's see how well he's going to hold this one. I'm hoping that's going to slide in there. Nice. That wasn't too hard at all. So very nice. He's got his trigger finger in there very nicely. That wasn't too hard to get that in there. And of course, we always want to get that classic two-handed pose. There, very nice. That's one of the pluses, I gotta say, of having the sort of the extra articulation there. You just get that really tight in close to the body E11 pose. Very nice. Okay, so one of the things that I really wanted to see is we have this extra sort of blast effect done out of a translucent sort of yellow. And it looks like it's been painted, I think. I can just make out some small dots. It's been painted to look darker at the end. And if we look at the sort of the muzzly end to it, we can see it's sculpted with some sort of notches there. So I'm hoping it's going to attach onto the end, because normally there's like a peg hole or something to attach these ones on it. So I'm just going to see if he's going to hold it while I try and attach this. And it's going to go on like that. So now he's looking like he's firing back to whoever hit him in the chest there. So I'm just going to stand him on this base. So he's nice and sturdy. Here we go. Now we can take a look at these big lumps of plastic. They're quite heavy. They are a little bit hollow. We can see that they're made out of the same sort of translucent plastic as the top, and I was almost expecting to see some sort of peg hole or something like that to attach these to the display stand, but I don't actually see any kind of attachment point. There's like maybe a little bit of a corner here. Maybe it'll fit around something, but it is just sculpted all around. It doesn't have some sort of cutouts or something like that. So you're just sort of free to pose them as you want to. So the box kind of had a smaller one sort of facing here. And now we can take a look at this big one. This one's a very big explosion. We've got a little bit of a flatter edge here and more explosions out here. Now I do notice this is all sculpted from that same sort of plastic, but the tips are painted, and if we see here, there's a small patch where the paint has been scratched off, unfortunately. So it's leaving a bit of a clean dot there on that tip, which unfortunately is a little bit of a noticeable point, because if we pose this kind of near the base like it was displayed on the box, that is the leading edge, and I don't know if you can see that on camera, but I can. It's sitting right there facing forward. So I don't know if perhaps I will simply sort of flip mine around and sort of have this big explosion facing this way and this small one here. Maybe I'll do something like that for display purposes, but they just kind of sit near it. I thought it was going to be like some of those Black Series scenes where everything kind of fits together. You can kind of see where the little indents and peg holes are, so everything kind of snaps together. These ones just kind of sit near it, which is kind of interesting. I wasn't expecting that, but I think this looks fun. It's not quite a scene, but it definitely is a deluxe figure with all of these additional extras, which you may or may not choose to use if you open this particular figure. So we can kind of see. So you could go and get a few other Stormtroopers and kind of build a scene. Like there's explosions happening with all of the Stormtroopers firing back. I think this one is kind of fun. Definitely looks very different. Unfortunately, I think it's perhaps not the best to army build sharing between these two sculpts. I think it'll probably look better to army build one particular figure or the other. We'll just sort of keep them separate. You may have some for The Mandalorian and some for the original trilogy, however you want to mix and match in terms of your display. Together, they do become a little bit more noticeable that there is a difference there. I do think this one is better, but there's something about all of these accessories. I kind of wish we got more scene setting accessories with the new Black Series line. Most of the deluxe figures are just Mandalorians with jetpacks. We don't get other things to kind of flesh out scenes, because as someone that collects a lot of the 3.75 inch, I do really like all of the play sets, the accessories, the vehicles, beasts, all of those sort of things that let you build a scene and a really cool display. And we don't get that quite as much in the Black Series line, and I kind of wish we did. I know everything starts getting very big and very expensive when you blow it up to 6-inch scale. Certainly, you know, beasts and rancors and everything else start getting a bit expensive and big, but maybe just a few more accessories so we can kind of make our displays look a little cool like this. I think this is kind of fun. I know it's not for everybody, but I just like having a little bit of something extra to sort of bling out the classic white Stormtrooper, and you get those options. You don't need to use them if you don't want them. You can just store them with the box, throw them in your plastic tub of spare accessories if you don't particularly like them. It makes me remember back to, I want to say, the sort of Saga 3.75 inch sort of Attack of the Clones era, where they started putting like blast effects that you could like click on to the lightsabers with all the Jedi characters for the Geonosian arena. I kind of like it. It makes me think back to those early days of my collecting journey, so I'm a bit nostalgic about blast effects like this. So I think that they're very fun. So there you go. Thank you so much for hanging out with me today as I opened up the Stormtrooper with blast accessories from the Black Series 6-inch line. I had a lot of fun checking out all of the details. I hope you have a wonderful morning, afternoon, or evening wherever you are in the galaxy, and let's hang out again very soon. Thank you so much for watching. Catch you in the next video, and as always, may the Force be with you. If you enjoyed this video, go ahead and give it a like. Check out our other videos and subscribe for alerts about new uploads. Thanks for watching, and may the Force be with you.